Hey guys, it's Eric from Team Rec here. We have a deck profile. This is my Kashtira deck that I took to 8th place at the Winnipeg Regional this past weekend. As you might be able to see from the mat, we did top. This is actually my first regional top. I've been playing this game for a long time, mind you, a couple breaks. But I've been pretty terrible at the game for a long time. And recently, I've been trying to get my feet wet as far as events go and really put in the work to get better. So I'm really happy that the grind's sort of paying off. This is like a smaller regional, like not to discredit anything. I think I played very well. I did a lot of research and testing before the event, and I think it did pay off. In terms of like the meta call I made too, I think I prepared really well. I was just expecting a lot of rogue, not too much mirror, a lot of graveyard heavy decks like Naturia, Runic, even stuff like maybe Dinos, Sword Soul, just sort of decks I could lock out with my main strategy, which I just kind of stuck to a Rise Heart Pass. I think a lot of people just think they can beat you with Nib, but the new way of playing this deck sort of makes those old strategies just dead cards in hand. So like people have been saying, it's kind of like a rock paper scissors format, but you kind of got to prepare one way and take that into the event and hope that beats the general strategy, and I think it did perform well. As far as matchups go, first round I played against Earth Machine, so that kind of played into what I predicted there. You'll see in the main deck how things sort of put in work, but I won that one. I played Adventure Kashtira in round 2, which I beat. Round 3 I played a mirror just against like Pure Cash. Similar strategy there, like they were kind of on the Rise Heart Pass thing too. A really grindy game. Game 3 we did go to time. I did make him go first, so he kind of did go for a zone lock. I don't think I think he kind of knew I didn't play Nibiru and stuff like that, so he did pop off, but I guess there wasn't enough time to kind of complete that sort of combo, so it did kind of like pivot into a Red Eyes Flare play, and the game kind of just passed back to me with seconds on the clock. So there's really not much you can do there. That's the game. Like I don't care about that. But he was a really formidable opponent, and we had a great match. He actually ended up winning the regional, so congrats there. My next round was against Ninja, and this is actually my buddy from in town here. I play him at locals every now and then, and I kind of knew how this one would go. He played Ninja. He actually got 7th place. We'll be uploading his deck profile soon, probably before this one. But anyhow, I didn't prepare for that matchup at all. I did respect the deck. I knew it would put in a lot of work against me. Like they're always putting stuff face down, and they can really control the game and play around targeting. So that was really bad for me. I got 2-0'd. You know, not to take anything away from his win, but it was very bricky. But you know, he played very well, and I got what I deserved there. But anyways, congrats there on the 7th place. Stay tuned for that profile. Next round, what was I? Yeah, I was 2-1-1 at that point, and if I had lost another one, that was basically it. It was a 6-rounder. X11 could top, so if I won out there, I was pretty sure I would get it. You know, some other things with tiebreakers could have happened. But anyways, I really kind of buckled down after that loss. I'm like, wow, he really handed it to me there. So I kind of snapped into a groove there, and I thought I played really well for the last 2 rounds. It was against Sword Soul, which is a deck I actually really prepared for and expected to be at the regional. I did a lot of testing with Yozoi. I don't know if anyone knows him through YouTube. He does a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh content as well. But anyhow, we did a lot of testing. Shout out to him. You know, I was really prepared for that matchup because of all that testing, but I ended up winning all those 2 matches, and then yeah, I went 8th place with 4-1-1 record. But yeah, Had a lot of fun at the regional. Other shout outs would be Chris, of course. You know, he runs the channel with me. He drove us down to the event. Really good player. Like, I learned a lot from him, and he actually had a lot of suggestions for the main deck last minute. And we, of course, did a lot of testing. He played Trap Tricks, and I learned a lot about that matchup. Unfortunately, didn't run into it. So, you know, the preparation could have been maybe invested elsewhere, but you never know what sort of matchups you're going to get. Yeah, but anyway, into the deck. Sorry if that was kind of prolonged there with the intro, but I did have some things to say. Anyhow, as far as monsters go, I played pretty standard ratios. There's just kind of some differences in the main deck that you'll see on other cards. But I played the 3 Unicorn, 3 Fenrir. Unicorn actually did a lot of like control for me against slower kind of mid-range decks, where I could just kind of pick their extra deck as they played into my board. I think one time I just went into Shane Group Era and on Unicorn with like defensive cards, and that was enough to just kind of slow them down to the point where they had to pass back to me. I was on 2 Rise Heart. I see this kind of fluctuating between 1 and 3 and 2. 2's comfortable. It's not like, oh, you want to see it sometimes thing, but I just don't want to see it as much as I would playing 3. And I do play some cards that kind of make it risky with ratios, but not really. But 2 just felt comfortable for me, and I don't mind opening this card. It does kind of help play into boards in a weird way, like baiting interruptions, because a lot of people like overvalue the card. And it's also just great setup for the grind game. Like, people might not expect you to be kind of banishing what you're banishing early on, but you know, as you see how your lines will play out in the grind, this card can really help you. Next I was on 1 Ogre and a 1 Scareclaw to complete the Kashtira monsters. Ogre was really underrated, actually, or, you know, is a really underrated card, and I think it like really performed well for me. You'll see the trap lineup's kind of weird, but the whole point of Ogre was just to get to the big bang as fast as I could, because setting that up under a Rise Heart is pretty strong. It's a very like small investment board that has a high impact against a lot of decks that are going to play into it. But Big Bang's sort of my like control card and combo piece, so I think Ogre's a must, and it's really easy to search it in the combo when you run cards like Theosis and Rise Heart and Birth, just to, you know, tool everything out. It's a pretty circular deck in that sense, but there are a lot of cards you don't want to see, which cause for consistency issues, of course. I was on 3 Ash and 3 Shifter. I'm actually kind of starting to see this in some of the lists from the weekend, but I think it was a good call. I expected to play more Rogue in the earlier rounds, and this put in a lot of work. Game 1, I kind of wanted to cover my variance on the rolls there, like hedge my bets. You know, I'm not going to win every die roll, and opening Shifter was kind of clutch that way. I kind of stole a couple game 1s against, like, when I had to play Earth Machine. It kind of wasn't something I expected, but just to see that really put me in a good position. But my whole sort of mentality was I want to set up like a macro type game state right away at all costs, whether it's through Shifter on the opponent's turn or me winning a roll and going a Rise Heart pass. So it's just making it very difficult for the opponent, and they're passing back to you on subpar boards, and this deck punches so hard on turn 3. Passing back to this deck's pretty lethal. So I just always wanted to make it difficult for the opponent to set up, no matter what the result was. Game 1. That's it for the monsters. As far as spells go, I played 4 Field. I actually was on set rotation and Scareclaw field, but I wanted a more defensive approach. I didn't really have an issue like seeing monsters or wanting to block out evenly and in perm that much, because I was playing around those cards anyway. But that's comfortable for field spell. I think playing around with set rotations not a bad idea, something I will consider, but it just didn't fit into my strategy for the event. 3 Birth, 3 Theosis, pretty standard there. You can brick on Theosis in conjunction with Birth a lot, but you can usually play out of it. And I think that's because we're running 5 pots, so yeah, maybe this isn't an original idea, like Cotton kind of started this, but you know, it's something I've considered, kind of like ironically at first, but when I saw lists with it, I kind of gave it some thought, and this deck does have like some consistency issues which can be addressed by this sort of aggressive draw card strategy. I only kind of conflicted on these once, and it was against deck I was losing badly against anyways, ninjas. So, you know, it actually worked out well for me. Like, the whole point was to kind of save these for after, if I really had to. Like, I would just make a Rise Heart and my standard board there, and then I would use these to sort of dig. And sort of the byproduct of your drawing and banishing is a Rise Heart's going to attach. So anything you've lost off of the banish with desires, theoretically, you can sort of circle back, put under a Rise Heart, and then that gets banished or goes to the grave. This actually helps the deck kind of be a lot more circular in terms of consistency. So I was happy with that. It does kind of look weird on paper, but what I actually, Chris recommended that. He said just play 2 desires instead of the set rotation and Scareclaw field. It was for just digging for non-engine and just adding to consistency with my main end board, which was a Rise Heart pass. So I was happy with how that worked out. And then sort of like your defensive quick plays that you always see in cash decks, I just stuck to 3 Book and 3 Forbidden Lance. I think these put up the most work. Like, if I had to play the mirror, these are pretty damaging to their push, unless they open Birth, of course. But Lance, I think Lance was MVP because Imperm really shuts you down, I feel. So, and then of course the books are going to be played against you, so I think this card's sort of non-negotiable. You need it in the main, with how fragile sort of the main monsters are in their setup. You really need to have that extra layer of protection. Some people go Nightmare or Wandering Griffin rather, or they go like Lance, or you know, they go other ways, but I think Lance was best in terms of just being able to set up. And then of course you pass on a Rise Heart, and a Rise Heart's biggest weakness, I think, is just a simple imperm into it, so that also helped protect against that. I did play 2 evenly. It was kind of the same like philosophy as Shifter, just sort of mitigate kind of the variance on die rolls, and then it kind of made siding a little bit more fluid for games where I was just going first. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyways, evenly, yeah, it put in work. It usually does, and like, it's a great format for the card. No one's ending on like these multi-negate boards anymore. And then I just played 1 big main, like as far as the Kashtira traps go. Funny story, I was basically just zoning out in the hotel room looking at my deck list. I'm like, this doesn't feel right, and like in tests, Preparations was a pretty terrible top deck, and actually you can see the value in the card. Like, I was watching Michael Thomas's deck profile like right before we went to this regional, and he was talking about setting up Preparation with Scareclaw in hand when you have a Rise Heart, like if they auto with a Kaiju, that sort of thing. You can kind of have that recursion with Preparation. I didn't get Kaiju the whole tournament. So maybe preparations could have been valuable in those sorts of scenarios. But I felt like for what it was worth, it took away from some of the more simple consistency that I wanted for the deck. My main strategy was to just go for Big Bang, and how I would kind of play it was just end on a Rise Heart and Big Bang. Let them sort of build their board to a certain point, save the Rise Heart, and then Big Bang would pop off there. A Rise Heart would reattach the Big Bang, and then sort of how I sequenced it was the next sort of push they made, I could just use a Rise Heart to get rid of the Big Bang as material, and then pop something that they had, and then Big Bang would of course trigger, and then I'd usually always have Fenrir underneath it. Most of the time you do, and that's like, you know, Unicorn Theosis type of line. But you know, I'd end up with the Fenrir, and then Fenrir would be another interruption from there. And a lot of people weren't, I didn't see like too many evenly matched, so I was able to sort of get away with that sort of play style. But yeah, Big Bang put in a lot of work, and of course, like, it's a good combo piece too. Like with Scareclaw Kashtira, when you're trying to build boards like that way. So yeah, I was pretty happy with cutting the preparations. I actually ended up ripping it up before the event, so I wouldn't have to think about the possibility of playing it. Anyhow, we'll go to extra. I'm just gonna kind of breeze through this because it's getting kind of long, but I played 3 of Rise Heart because I'm on a Rise Heart pass. Why would I not want to maximize this card? And this card puts in the most work for the deck. I think it's obviously like kind of the centerpiece. So I went with 3. I honestly could play 1 of that card if I, you know, didn't have to play mirrors, but I think I made this like once or twice the whole tournament. Zeus I didn't make the whole time, and you know, people would just try to pick out the one big eye I had in the mirror, so I think I might have made that once, but it didn't see much. This card was clutch. If you have a decent hand size and you already have 2 7s on board, this applies so much pressure, and of course combos with like cards like Theosis, so they usually just have to answer it, and if they don't, you're getting 2 pops and then the banish synergy. I played 1 big eye. 2 is probably correct, but like I said, I kind of underestimated the mirror. Like, I don't really have too many problems with it generally. And yeah, they would go for this, but it's not too vital to the deck. And especially in the mirror, you're winning with non-engine cards like Econ and making your own Rise Hearts, so I didn't really care if I had 1 copy. Mind Hacker, I didn't make it the whole tournament. I think the whole zone locking thing's really overrated. Even if they don't have the cards to, you know, stop the combo, you can still win with control, so why not kind of play the safer strategy, I thought. I played Flare Metal. Not much to be said about that. Like, it applies a lot of pressure if you take big swings at them and just end on that. It puts them on a clock, which is obviously really cool. Barone, Goliath, Intis, and Grua are kind of like the, you know, non-XYZs here. Baron actually put a lot more work in than I thought, so really happy with that. In a simplified game state, it's just going to turn the game in your favor a lot of the time. These 3 I felt like were best. They all put in work. The pop, the draw. This was really good against a lot of roguish decks that will try to like summon stuff to destroy your Rise Heart. So it's like you kind of just leave it on your only material with that, and you can still sort of keep it on board. But yeah, that's it for the extra. Onto the side, I played 3 Lancia, 3 D-Barrier, 2 Book of Eclipse, 2 Econ, and then I kind of played like a power spell lineup here and an extra evenly matched. Going second, I just kind of wanted like general power cards. I didn't want to play too many thrust. I'd rather just kind of draw into good stuff. And I think I had like a good chance of that. This is just like for the mirror. Like this and Change of Heart go crazy in the mirror. I think you kind of got to play that if you're playing Kashtira. This was just more to stop evenly and of course help me in the mirror. And then D-Barrier, I wanted to maybe see like 1 or 2 branded decks, or like expected to, but I didn't. But this was crazy against Sword Soul, of course, when they would summon their token and you just flip that, and yeah, that was that. But that's the side deck, and that completes the deck profile. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll have a one more deck profile. It might be before this one, but that will be the 7th place Ninja deck profile. But anyways, that's it for now. Thank you.